We're posting the meeting now. We'll be right back with you. Okay, and we do have 8 people in the meeting room that wish to speak at some point in time. I believe it's on the tobacco, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Well, that's great. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the March 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. And please note this is a remote participation meeting due to the pandemic. So, to start off, why don't we take attendance and we'll start. Mary, are you there? Apparently not. Charles, are you present?
Yes, he is present, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Just wanted to state it while the meeting was on, that's all. Deborah, are you present?
I am. I'm here.
Eric?
Present.
Director Murphy?
Present.
Okay, well done. Okay, welcome everyone. Why don't we start with the public comment? And if someone would like to come forward, perhaps any subject besides the tobacco cap for the time being. Any other issues, this would be your opportunity to speak up.
I believe they're all on in the waiting room to speak on tobacco, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Director Murphy, could we go to the Review and Recreation Department? I know we're gonna have someone come in, or we could skip that for the time being also.
Recreation is not planned to be into our meeting to 5:30.
Okay, moving along here. Why don't we go right to number 5 then? Here's the Eversource yearly operational plan for vegetation management. This is a vote which we take every year. And this is really about the herbicide treatment within the power line rights of ways. So Bruce, why don't you just give us a brief summary, and I'm sure it'll be familiar to most of us.
Bruce. Unmute.
There we go. This request is from the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, which they submit each year to the town for their spraying of herbicides on the right-of-ways. What we've done is, even though they notify the town really has no say because it goes strictly right to the state. What we do is we comment to the state on their vegetation management plan for this right-of-way over the electrical right-of-ways. So just basing it on the past concerns, we did a draft letter of what we've done the last couple of years for the board to consider not recommending herbicides right-of-ways for treatment, and asking them to look at other means of treatment, whether that's for vegetation management control, whether that would be tree trimming or different types of vegetation. So that's where we have right now for the board's discussion. I did put the draft letter in from our hazardous waste inspector, Kyle Lawson, for your board's consideration. We do have a couple private wells within the area that we do mention. And we also mentioned they should check with the water department for any other potential properties that would abut the right of way that may have drinking water wells.
Okay. Board members have any comments, questions? Back to Eversource.
So Bruce, the letter is in essence the same letter we've been sending the last couple years, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. No, we really don't have a choice. I mean, even if we say, don't spray, the decision's really made by the state, but they ask us our
Our
opinion.
stance is not to spray it, but they're gonna pretty much do what they want.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
And they also send a copy to the selectmen, and they usually express their concerns of not spraying also.
Right,
But
so essentially, Deborah, the vote would be whether to send this letter or not.
correct. Do we send the letter of concern?
The other question I have, whether or not should we include the town council perhaps in the bottom of the letter?
We have not asked them to review it, so I wouldn't put it on at this time then.
Why don't we put it on for next year then? Okay,
Yes,
it's fine. We don't have to slow it up this year's letter, but why don't we just add it on?
yes.
If ever came to be a legal matter, it may be helpful to have some history on it.
Okay,
Okay, since it really doesn't make any difference, unfortunately, why don't we go ahead and take a vote. Someone want to make a motion whether to send this letter?
we can draft it.
I move we send the letter.
A second, someone? Great, Eric, thank you. All in favor, just raise your hand, say aye.
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 Charlie, what are you doing?
I just as soon let them spray.
Charlie's position, I don't know if quite heard it, is to let them continue their spraying within the power line. So it'd be 3-1 vote.
Well, the vote is whether to send the letter.
It's in the letter.
That's a different issue.
So I guess it would be not to send the letter.
Okay, don't send the letter.
Did-
How's that?
He's saying we would not send the letter.
Okay, so then it is a 3-1 vote and we will send the letter then. Okay, done. Director Murphy, a lot of the work comes down to the updates. Do you want to go there now? Or do you want to just clean up on the bottom here? There are a number of things.
Yeah, why don't we go down a little bit further while we're waiting for other board member? Why don't we go down to we could start at 8.
I'll take 8, sure. Let's go. Here's the annual appointments for animal inspectors. And we have 3 individuals up. That's Bruce Murphy, Phil Renault, and Carl Bonhomme. So we generally have to vote on whether or not to keep them on as inspectors. Is that it?
Correct. And what we do as animal inspectors is we go out and do any quarantines for potential rabies or dog bites, animal bites. We go out and inspect that. And then also the animal inspector goes out and inspects any barns, chickens, goat areas once a year also.
Okay. I mean, I have a general feeling that this board is going to be in favor of the annual appointments of 3 individuals. So why don't we put the 3 names together and someone can make a motion on whether to reappoint the 3 people here.
I move we appoint, unfortunately, I just lost the names, but the 3 people that are named in this to those positions.
Perfect, as in Bruce Murphy, Phil Renault, and Carl Bonhomme. That's great.
Exactly.
We have a second then. Somebody go for it. How about a second? Somebody there. I'll second it. Okay, done. We'll take a vote. If you're in favor of these appointments, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
I see 3 hands. Charlie,
Yes, he's an aye.
he's raising his hands. That's unanimous. 4. Congratulations, Director Murphy, of your appointment.
Thank you.
All right. If you have any questions about how to do any inspections, ask Eric on this one, okay? So, Director Murphy, let's go to number 11. There's a discussion request for second housing inspector to the Board of Selectmen, which of course they have a meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, as part of the presentation before the selectmen tomorrow night, an update on COVID. We're also talking about adding a second housing inspector for the department. Is the stat sheet that goes with that? Is there another page after that? Just a little bit that shows the financial. Here we go. The what we do have for rental properties in towns, approximately at least 3,600. And that's picking up. We picked up about 600 over the last 2 years. And we picked up 400 just from July 1st under the new state short-term rentals, which was at approximately $75 per permit. That's a new $30,000 that we're bringing into the town. The number of inspections between one inspector and we did have our housing intern inspector that's been with us, Meredith, that assisted with the rentals, and we did about 1,400 inspections. But as you can see, we're not able to get into all the rentals each year to ensure compliance with the state housing code for safety of the occupants within the house. And that's also responding to, 900 complaints on the properties. And that's from site visit, calls, letters, meetings. And those complaints can range from no heat, no water, trash, broken windows, and so forth. So that keeps the one inspector extremely busy. And what we tried to show is just by bringing in money through registration of the rentals for the applications, we're able to pay for the position. We have large properties in town generating about $90,000 annually from our housing complexes. And this will show us between that money and the money we bring in based on the rental applications, we're projected to bring in about 100. We're expecting over 180,000, and we've already brought in 141 to date, and we still have 3 months to go, 3.5 months to go. So we have presented this twice to the Finance Committee, and we've presented it once to the selectmen already. And tomorrow it's on the selectmen's agenda for a final discussion on their approving it so it can be placed in within the warrant. I'll be at the meeting, and I think probably, Mr. Chairman, you might be there as we do our COVID update to them. This will be right afterwards.
Right, perfect. Yeah, I'll be there.
So it's just an update to the board that we're proceeding to go forward. I know the board's talked about this several times over the last year and has supported the second position to be added. So as the town is looking at adding new positions across the town, we wanted to make sure that the need was shown for this one for safety of the occupants in rental housing. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. So that's just an update. There's, if you want, we can have a little discussion, but I know we've had some in the past.
Bruce, where does finance fall? What was their position on it?
They have not taken a position on it. We did go to the finance committee twice. They acknowledged it. They acknowledged that the program could probably pay for itself, plus tracking down the new housing state short-term rentals, which brings in approximately $1 million per year statewide. I mean, from the state rentals to the town. They just acknowledged it. They did not take a vote. And in my cover letter to the selectmen on this position, I said, I believe even with my conservative estimates, we're going to cover it. But should there be a slight minor payment needed or additional money needed, under $10,000, probably $10,000-$15,000. My position was they could look at that state short-term rental money of $1 million coming to the town. The person we have right now is also doing some COVID work for the department. So some of that CARES Act funding that would be coming in might be potential. So I think there's other revenue sources that could be used just for this one position within the health department.
Just explain one issue, and that is on what's on the screen right now. We have new housing rentals, and then there's new state short-term rentals. Just define the difference there.
Yes, the new rentals are ones that we just noticed either from driving around town that says rentals, looking at the Craigslist, what's rentals, and or people that have been off our rental list for 2 years that we're able to bring them back on. The new short-term rentals was the list provided by the state to the town saying these are the people that have rentals that paid a rental fee and that the state will be reimbursing the town approximately $1 million. Out of that 700 the state sent us, 400 were not on our rental list. So we sent them all a letter in December saying that they needed to make a payment and register the property, which a majority of them did. And then we sent them another letter in January saying, you know, this is for the new year 2021. And I would say we have a high majority in compliance right now.
And where does the state get their information on this? Is this taxes or what?
Yes, I believe they're getting it from the Department of Revenue as the people pay their taxes for the short-term rental.
Okay.
We have not received their second quarter. This 700 and the $1 million was approximately from the first quarter, July, August, September. So we have not received their second quarter, so we're still looking for that. So hopefully we'll see additional money also.
Okay. Anyone, any other questions about that? Not. Bruce, can you give us an update on the homebound vaccinations? That was number 7 on the agenda. I'm sure that will be pretty brief.
Yes, we're still working with, and I'll have some slides in a little bit. What we're doing is we're reaching out to the homebound through the senior center, and they've maintained a list of about 125 people we feel are homebound. We obtained those numbers from Meals on Wheels. I've reached out to the church community. Diane Kane at the seniors sent out at least 2 mass mailings to her people that have signed up on Council on Aging, and people have called in. So we have a list of 125 that we can work with. She has been in touch with them to let them know that we're still looking at getting out to the homebound people probably the first week of April, and we'll be working with Outer Cape Community Health Center. So they're saying they hope to have the vaccine by then, and we will then work with their nurses that will be going out to the homebound people, along with the fire department will be participating, and they might have 1 or 2 paramedic crews also assisting with the homebound. We're looking at dividing the town up into villages and then dividing the vaccination crews that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure all the board members are aware that towns were given the option of providing this service on their own, getting the vaccine, of course, from the state, or having the state come and do this. I just think we made the right decision. It's going to happen a lot more efficiently if we do it here.
Yes.
Waiting for the state. So, and it's a little complicated in that if you're giving people injections at home, someone needs to stay with the individual.
Yes.
For minimum 15 minutes, and sometimes it could be as much as a half hour, assuming there aren't any developments. Okay. Director Murphy, anyone here from Recreation? If not,
Yes, they are. We do have Amy Hall here from Recreation Director available to discuss
that's great.
the opening.
Okay. So everyone just be aware, I know we're skipping around the agenda quite a bit. This is number 3 and number 4 is on your agenda.
Hey, Bruce, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You just need to activate your video.
Yeah.
If you wish.
Got a bright sun behind me, so we'll see.
Very good.
Do you just want me to kind of go through my plan or?
Yeah. Let me just give a quick background first for the board that Amy's the recreation director and she works out of the recreation office at Route 28 there, along with the Chamber of Commerce. And there's a lot of busy foot traffic in that building before people going in for the Chamber of Commerce for beach and dump stickers. And then on the other side of the lobby is the recreation. Most of the recreation is paid online, but there are people that want to get in to either discuss the programs a little bit more, can't get online or are setting up payments. So I have been to the site a couple times, and I think we have laid out a plan that Amy will go over to limit the number of people in the lobby. And even with this uptick we see in COVID right now, I think it can be very limited to allow some of these difficult people to have a chance to get in. So with that, Amy, I think if you can just go over your letter, that'd be terrific.
Okay, thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
So as Bruce said, I'm Amy Howell, the rec director. So our spring season and particularly our summer season, we're already well into our planning for. And as Bruce said, we're kind of in a unique situation with Chamber being open to the public and basically being right outside our office. But so we onboard about 70 to 100 seasonal staff every summer. And we will be running our camp again this summer. And so with that comes about 200 kids a week and having to collect all their paperwork, registrations and whatnot. And so we've just really had this demand, not overwhelming, but enough that we approached Bruce to see if we could do this, if we could open to the public, and Bruce worked with us to kind of create this soft opening plan. So obviously the main goal is when people call it is to set up appointments for whether it's a patron or a staff. As Bruce alluded to, we have people, whether it's grandparents that, have control of their grandkids and they're trying to enroll them in camp and don't really have access to online or printing. We are licensed obviously through the Board of Health for our camp, which requires copious amounts of paperwork from each camper, whether it's medical, registration, all of that. So, that stuff needs to be filled out. So, and some people just don't really have the option. So we would be able to set up an appointment for them to come in to the office one at a time. We've said, the entrance is kind of through the Chamber of Commerce. So we have a table set up right as you enter the Chamber of Commerce, and we will put up basically signs there. There's signs on the outside that are, talking about social distancing, masks being required, number of people in the building and whatnot. We do have a doorbell on there, or I should say the Chamber does. So anytime someone enters the building, they ring the doorbell. So we know someone's coming into the building right away, whether it's the Chamber that is approaching them, which is 95% of the time. And so if it is someone for recreation, Chamber will come get us and let us know. So we will come out, greet them. If we don't have anyone in the office in our little lobby, we'll welcome them into our lobby. So I'm just going to paint the picture. We have a little lobby that has a pull down screen on it. We have a large plexiglass that the town purchased for every department last year. That's up. So we only allow one person into that lobby at a time. And so obviously we're all masked up, and then we help the person. If for some reason, which as I had said to Bruce, I don't foresee it happening, but in case it does, if for some reason we had 3 or 4 people that were trying to come into the office, whether it's staff with their paperwork or patrons, we would just have them wait outside in their car, and then we would go get them when their turn was up. So that way we would limit the number of people in the lobby and in the chamber, because we don't want it to back up into the chamber either, especially if they have people. And then obviously disinfecting, we have spray, we have wipes, everything, and the counters wipe down after every person. We spray the disinfectant, and then it's all kind of done at the end of the day as well for one final time. So that's kind of our soft opening plan. Does anyone have any questions about it or concerns or?
It looked fine to me. Board members, questions?
And I think you're also, Amy, going to put up like signs. So if people go in there, there's like stand-up signs that you can't just, if two people got in there or somebody from the chamber went in there, they couldn't go in your directions. I think you're planning to put like 3 small 3-foot high stand-up signs.
Yeah, to kind of block it so they can only, it stops them, because sometimes people are walking in with a fury to get to the office. So it'll kind of block them and force them to stop right at that table, see everything. And that gives the chamber enough time to kind of see them. And they have to do the sign in for the contract tracing. So yeah, those signs will be up for sure.
Okay, and we will be putting, I think we still need a sign on the door there, mask up.
Yep.
Okay.
That sign's up. Yep. We put it up today. So
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When is day one for recreation activities, when the things open up?
So we have karate going on right now, but so pretty much the spring season will really kick off with everything going like mid-April.
Okay.
And most of it is outside just because of lack of indoor space. And obviously we want to try and keep them outside. So, but once mid-April hits, it'll be kind of ongoing through to the fall. So.
Okay.
I think one other area about outdoor events is we just want to touch generally with Amy is on the events that possibly could be down Bass Hole. And that's the pavilion that we have down there now. And it's going to be closed from Memorial Day to Labor Day. But Rec is receiving applications or inquiries now that they would like to use the pavilion down there for gatherings, cookouts, possible weddings. And, with the governor changing the new outdoor gatherings to 150 now, requests are coming in. And, one is it's tough for parking. Go ahead, Amy.
And Flax Pond Pavilion too. That's another
Yes.
one. So
Yeah.
Outside as well.
Yeah. So obviously the concern now, especially where we're having an uptick in COVID, which looks like a third wave right now, I would be hesitant to say that we should be leasing those properties out over the next 2 months. I think we should put a pause on it at Bass Hole because it's going to stop at Memorial Day. And then Flax Pond, we could just look at how that might look later in a month or so.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe considering too, just keeping our numbers low. I think 150 is, our pavilions don't even fit that, but they do 100, which I think at this time, obviously, like you said, is just not really appropriate to be doing. So, but maybe even think about if we still could keep them low, like 25 to 30 people. I mean, it's well within the COVID guidelines, and that way we still kind of have those options for people. But so I will say the requests are coming in, especially, I mean, people watch those, the Baker announcements, and the minute it hit, the requests coming in were a lot. So.
One of the other concerns is if it's rented out, there's really no, the supervision is, they might have somebody check when they get there, but then there's nobody that monitors them if they're there for 2-3 hours, that they're in compliance.
Yep.
So I guess that's the question is, does the board want to limit it to, would you have people that want to come in that 25 to 30?
Yeah.
Group size, and is that, how often would that be? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, during the week, 7 days a week?
It's available 7 days a week, and my thing is if we just have a limit, that's our limit, and it is what it is. So that if they want to rent them, it's when it was 25, we had people, obviously not as many, but I would say our average request is from the 30 to 50 people range.
And do you have somebody that can go by and check them once, or what's your inspection schedule on that?
So it would depend on what you guys want. So we would base it off of that. So typically the way the rentals outside right now is our staff, our event coordinator goes, make sure the site's available, make sure there's only that many people, and then would leave. So, if that's something that you guys are going to put on it, it's like you said, if you are requiring a staff person there to enforce it, we would have to play that all into the contract then.
Right. And what's a general cost of a rental there go for?
Only $110.
So it's almost costs more when you have to sign a staff person.
Yeah.
And paperwork, that's barely covers your cost.
Yeah.
Have you accepted any rentals to date?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
not?
we've obviously with the weather getting nice, but we ran rentals. The selectmen they wanted to run them all last year. So we ran them under those guidelines that were in place with whatever the minimum or whatever the maximum was. And we ran them all summer and into the fall. I think probably all the way till like November when it was nice. And then obviously it's too cold. So we do offer the Flax Lodge inside. I mean, we don't have too many requests for that right now. And I can never imagine putting 100 people in there right now at this point. So I don't even think that's feasible, but outside, it's open. I think just the big question is how do we enforce the guidelines? And if you guys want a staff there to do that.
Right. I don't think the board's probably prepared to make a decision. I think we need some discussion on this.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be addressed and make a decision. It's fair to the public and as well as obviously your department how to handle this. So my feeling is just I would put a hold on taking any rentals at this point, and we'll get right back to you. Okay.
Okay.
The other point, Mr. Chairman, why we have Amy available is the outlook for the beaches this summer. Last summer, there was a restriction on the number of parking. There was also a restriction on number of people on the beach set by the governor, which hasn't been addressed yet. But the beaches were overcrowded last year, and in the rec department, lifeguards working with the DPW attendance people were able to monitor the beaches very closely. So do you want to just say how that went last year? And is that something we can maybe discuss this year also at a later date?
Yeah. So, I mean, the selectmen decided, I think we had proposed like 50% or whatever, but it was ultimately decided that we would walk the beaches and kind of make our best judgment that when the beach was starting to get too crowded, that we would shut the gates down. Obviously, the first couple weeks were a little bit hectic, but with parks and the lifeguards and everything, by the end, we could look at the parking lot and know where we were at. I mean, pretty much we knew that we had to get out onto the beach and we were closing it. So it worked really well. And we would be very fine and confident that we could do it again this summer if that's what the guidelines are in place. My only thing with that is just to inform the public that this is what's going to happen. I think that was part of the biggest issues there is, they just didn't understand, they're driving by a beach and they see parking spots and they're like, why can't we get in? And they are not very nice about it. So just educating the public if that is what's going to be. So.
Did you have to shut down, and which beaches did you have to maybe limit at certain hours or certain days?
So I would say probably every weekend. If you guys remember last summer, there was like no rain and it was hot. And so every weekend if it was nice, we shut down. And we would start at Bass River and then it would just trickle down the whole strip. So you're talking Residence Beach next, and then Parkers River, which is the worst beach because that parking lot is very large compared to the size of the beach. So half that parking lot would be open and we would shut it down because the beach was packed. People didn't understand that. And then Seaview, and then on to Seagull Beach. But I would say almost every weekend, every single beach was shut down. So
For a period of time at 10,
till
11?
about, yeah, it would start between 9:30 and 10 if that first beach started, and then by noon they're all shut down. And then typically by like 2:30, we would open back up.
You also get a lot of walk-ins to that beach, and also at high tide, there's not much of a beach. A couple
Right.
of spots.
Yeah, we tried to stop walk-ins, so we didn't allow any drop-offs, but you can never ultimately stop walk-ins. The only thing we did is, with the police, it's just moved. Usually there's a drop-off. So in a typical summer, if the beach is full, someone can pull in and drop them off, where we, with this, abolished that. So it did help. But I mean, you're never going to stop all the walk-ins, but it did help just not allowing them to just pull in and drop them off. So.
What I was looking for tonight, Mr. Chairman, was just kind of an update and discuss, this was really just for discussion, not a vote for the board. I was thinking that we can bring it up during our Board of Health presentation of COVID to the selectmen tomorrow, that these are points that need to be discussed. And I think from reading in the newspaper, other towns are starting to discuss of what their summer plans would be. So I think we could start with the selectmen tomorrow night and then put it on the next Board of Health meeting for further discussion.
I agree. Yeah, Amy, it's going to be a challenge again this year.
Yeah.
Just from the pandemic fatigue alone, people feel that it's safe, that it's vaccinated. So it's going to be complicated and
Yeah.
a little bit different, but it will be a challenge. If there's some things that, from an educational standpoint of view, you may write up some things for the website.
Right.
To have it up there. If we can help you with that, just let us know.
Great. And what I can do too is, just so you guys have an idea, is I'll kind of put together a list and send it off to Bruce of the requests we have for the rentals. That way you guys can just kind of see where we're at and kind of get like a ballpark idea. So.
Yeah, I get a sense of where you are in this, and since you're in the middle of it,
Yeah.
it's tough. I can appreciate it.
So we'll do that for the events, and I guess for the reopening within the rec office, I guess the board could vote on that. We could forward that to the selectmen. The board has reviewed that proposal.
Yeah, no. Plan looks fine. So we take a vote and do it right now. Someone take a motion and just let's move along on this. It's a motion that to approve the plan that was presented to us tonight, essentially, is what it
So
is.
moved.
Okay, is there a second to that? Thank you, Eric. All in favor, just raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Carl, you voting? What's up?
Nay.
No.
It's a nay. Okay, so it's 3-1, it passes. Amy, thanks for kind of coming in and just giving the details. Good job. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Okay, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
I would say, Mr. Chairman, we have not heard back from our other Board of Health members, so we can probably, if you want to consider going back to number 2, the tobacco cap discussion.
yeah, I know there are a number of people who've been waiting for quite some time, so I appreciate their patience. And yes, number 2 on our agenda is the hearing for tobacco cap. It's going to be voted on, it looks like tonight, and this is a regulation that was put in place on June 28th, 2018. And this was voted on the Board of Health basically for health reasons, essentially dealing with the tobacco use in town. That was the intention of keeping it literally capped. In other words, not having increasing numbers of licenses out there to sell tobacco products. And that's been pretty common throughout the state, in the sense of the town is doing the same thing that we've done. The only reason I think that this has come up is that there were 2 individuals who have commercial properties in town, who wanted to get tobacco licenses. They individually didn't have any license previously, but the people who were renting their properties did have licenses, and those had expired.
If, Mr. Chairman, if you could just wait 1 second while there's a couple people in the waiting room. We want to make sure they all get in to hear this. I think we have about 8 people coming in. Are we all set? Leanne? Yes. Yes, everybody's in the waiting room that wish to talk and be part of the discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Did you want me to start over? Or?
Yes, Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. So essentially, this is a hearing. Tonight, and it's a hearing whether or not the tobacco cap that was put into effect in 2018 should be lifted or modified or left as is. Originally, the cap was placed to control the number of licenses for selling tobacco. It was basically looking out for the health of the individuals living in town. And the number of towns that have caps has grown over the years. The reason why it's in front of us tonight, again, is there are two individuals who came to the health department, if I have this right, interested in getting tobacco licenses. They had not previously had licenses, but they're owners of stores that had someone selling tobacco on their properties. In other words, it was the rentee who had the tobacco license at some point and no longer does. Either the person closed the shop or just didn't sell it and didn't no longer have it. So they didn't move to another location. So there are two locations in town that at one point were selling tobacco. So the question really is that these two people came in front of us wanting a license. Essentially, those would be new licenses, which we could not grant. We have a cap on. So that's what we're going to vote on tonight. Have some discussion
Chairman, can I just-
on whether or not to lift this cap or modify it. Deborah, yes.
So I just wanted to say something because it was really me that made this particular motion, and I think I needed to clarify something, because for me it wasn't necessarily about lifting the cap. It was about somehow getting an avenue for people in the predicaments that the two individuals that came in front of us were in, that I don't think were addressed in the regulation. So for me, it wasn't necessarily about lifting a cap or the cap itself. It was really, for me, more about finding an avenue, and this isn't probably it's more probably apples to oranges, but how we're allowed to give people variances on septic systems, to have some avenue if there is something unusual that happens. In the case of the gentleman that was trying to get the permit from the 7-Eleven, who financially could hold on to that and therefore hurt a small business trying to come into our town, or in the situation of the gentleman trying to do the property that had the convenience store where we took the license, because that gentleman was doing illegal things. That's kind of where I was at. So I just wanted to make that kind of clear.
Okay. Did you want to discuss a particular avenue that you have in mind, or we could certainly listen to people first, whatever you want.
Well, so I just wanted to put that out there, because it just seemed to me that just based on what people were saying in the letters that I read, it was more about removing and just willy-nilly not having a cap anymore. That certainly wasn't my intention. So I just wanted to put that out there before the folks wanted to speak.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Sure. It's great when people show up, and it's a hearing. So Director Murphy, any direct traffic there?
Yeah, how this is set up is it's a hearing. So the board would ask for anybody that wishes to speak, and all the people are eligible, and they can just put their hand up. We can work right through them. And after everybody speaks, the board would close the hearing. And then if you wish tonight, you can vote on it, or if you want to digest it a little, you can put it on our next meeting. So you have a couple options.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the first person that jumped in quick is John Weld, that would like to speak first because he has a place that he needs to go to. So John, if
Yes,
you,
Bruce, how are you?
good.
Listen, congratulations on your fantastic job that you've been doing during this pandemic. I'm sure that wasn't something you signed up for, but I love hearing your, I don't love, but I like hearing your weekly messages as well as the police chief as well. But regarding this issue, I'm a real estate agent with Kinlan Grover, and I do commercial as well as residential. The only point I want to make is, I know Bhadresh Patel is on, he might want to speak later, but in a lot of different towns, like Brockton, other towns, some have caps, some don't have caps. And what's happening in a lot of cases is 7-Eleven or some company like Tedeschi's or some other company or national company will be in there, and they have like 2 years to go on the lease. So say they have 2 years to go on the lease and it's November. They decide to close the store up, but they're still paying the rent. And the owner's an absentee owner. They have no idea these people even left. So they find out February or March that they're gone. Like these people might be in Florida. They find out they're gone, and but they're still paying the rent. But they let the tobacco license lapse, and then they just take it away, and the owners of the property were never notified. I don't know if there's some mechanism to notify the real estate owners as well as the tenants who actually hold the license, like a 7-Eleven or an individual. Tell the owners, hey, your tenant let his license lapse, and if you don't renew it within another month, you're going to lose it. Because what's happened is the owners, they have a convenience store now, all of a sudden, like there's one in Brockton, they can't rent it because nobody wants to go there without a tobacco license. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board members, any comments ever, or we could just have
Well,
someone
this
else
is
go? It'd be great.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is just really just to take comments from the public and not response from the board, then we'd close the hearing.
Yeah, sure. Someone has a hand up.
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, who's speaking? Oh, Michelle?
Michelle?
Yes. Yes, we
Right, so,
can hear you. Yep,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm the one who sent the letter to the Board of Health, in other words. And in my comments in the letter, like I was listening all the meeting before, and there was an issue with the two property owner has a little concern about to getting the license. If they don't get the license, they pretty much not gonna have any tenants, or they wanna, improve their the property. But I always thinking the Board of Health, all respectable person, and everybody is respectable, and they always make the right choice for the public health. And I think we are the first who did, if I'm not mistaken, we are the first who banned the flavored tobacco in entire Cape. And I think we are the first one who are brought up the menthol ban in entire Cape. I have a story in Falmouth, and just to guys let you know, I think I did talk to Mr. Bruce also about the same thing. They are practically following our footsteps. They are capping the licenses, and exactly the way we did, like if anybody doesn't renew the license or somehow they are in the fault, they will be revoke the license, or they're gonna take the license back, and the license count's gonna go down. One of the meeting I did listen to one of the board member. She did mention, I cannot see her right now, but she did mention because of the capping and the license are going down, the smoking ratio in town of Yarmouth, it's really getting down, in other words. So I think to add more licenses, is that gonna help the public health? I don't know. But, that's my point of view. Like, if I did request the board to make any changes in the regulation, just let it be as the same as it is right now. And that's all I want to say, and I like to hear, you guys are, you guys are fantastic about the public health. So you definitely know better than I do about the public health than anything else. So we are always respect the decision of yours, and we will be. So it's entirely up to, you guys to how to make the decision today, tomorrow, or whenever. But just, this is a few points I want to make it out. Like, literally, the Cape Towns look at us as a leader when it comes to the public health and put the regulations and everything else. So that's all I want to say. Thanks for listening to me, and I'm on all the meeting and see what we can do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
Back to the couch.
Bruce?
Hi. Oh,
Good,
Robert.
hi, you can go.
Hi. Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure you were in. That's all. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Bruce, could I speak?
Yes, just identify yourself for the record.
Okay, Robert Savara, West
Yep.
Yarmouth, 23 New Hampshire Ave, Precinct 6. So, a couple of things. Thank you for giving me the time. I'm here because what's happened by reducing the number of cigarette licenses, you've caused a financial stress to the town. And this is what we've been talking about. Last year, the Board of Health was asked to cut programs and charitable services, as a matter of fact. We know for a fact it was food pantry, psychological services, all this stuff. The town is right now being asked to cut over $1 million out of its budget. We have a big picture that we're supposed to look at of the health of the entire town. The town right now is in need of about $500 million over the next couple of years. We've taken the commercial real estate and moved it from 18% to 6%. We've driven out 2/3 of the town's businesses. Let's see, I would like to say that if you think about it, first of all, there's 125 towns that have policies. That's about 35% of the state. 70 of them have the harshest policies, which we are one of. That's 20% of the state. 100 have no policies whatsoever. Guess if Dennis is one of those policies or not. They are. So Yarmouth, in its efforts to do great things, is missing the picture, and we're causing financial harm in other areas. As a point, by the way, census started in 2018. Yarmouth is still at 19.3%. It's probably one of the highest in the state for cigarette smoking. So in 3 years, it's not accomplishing what we want it to accomplish. And that's the point I'm trying to make. That's why I made a suggestion, which was, it seems to me like the one thing you missed was having a 2-year time period where you could put it back out or something. And it goes along with Mark Grills. They have 2 years of vacancy. They've got some issues that go around 2 years. So if the Board of Health took the license back for a period of no longer than 2 years, that gives you time to say, do I want to give it back to somebody new? Do I want to give it back to a business that want opened up in the same location, like the 7-Eleven? Like I've said, you can make this structurally harder for people to sell these things. You can make them as part of the property. They can't leave the property. They're site resistant, so to speak. Landlords will put it in their leases. So we can control the number of licenses and what's going on with the town. At the same time, is not pushing everybody to Dennis to smoke their cigarettes and get their cigarettes and stuff. Again, it's the big picture that I'm trying to look for. And I think what we're finding by not the health of the town financially is not good. It is what it is. So if we take these little steps, we're not trying to stop everybody from smoking cigarettes in Yarmouth. That's never going to happen. Certainly not in my lifetime. So why don't we help the town help in other ways? Because one or two, we had 35 licenses, now we got 33. I mean, I know you would like to have 0, no smoking across the country would be awesome, but this is not what's happening. What's happening is you're making the license worth very valuable and you're curtailing construction. So we got to figure out a way to stop the other part from happening. And I think a couple license, again, give yourself 2 years to look at it and say, should I give it back out or should I let it go away? I think that's the only flaw you had, which is you just didn't give yourself time to consider what you could do with the license to encourage development in town. That's all. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in. Someone else? Director Murphy, we'll let somebody else in?
Yes, there's several people, and I'm sure there's a couple that want to speak. Go ahead. Jason, go ahead. You're up.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the board, and thank you for opening up this discussion. As you know, we're the landlords of the former 7-Eleven at 444 Main Street in West Yarmouth. And just echoing what John and Robert said, that's the exact situation that happened to us. The license was in 7-Eleven's name. They closed the store in December, paid rent through June. We tried to initiate a deal with 7-Eleven, agreed to terms, and 7-Eleven balked. And so now we're in the situation where we have a building that was custom built for a convenience store, and yet we find ourselves unable to rent the building because unfortunately a convenience store in today's world just isn't profitable without a tobacco license. So that's my case. Appreciate you taking the time to hear me.
Okay, appreciate you coming in again. I know you've done it several times. So, Director Murphy, we'll let someone else in.
Yes, we do. We have Tom Nicanello.
Yes, good evening.
Welcome.
It's a wonderful first day of spring, and you volunteers on the Board of Health, we wish you good luck in the springtime. I'm calling in consensus with the Chamber of Commerce, and as you know, our Chamber of Commerce has been around for many years. Mostly all our board of directors and members live, work, and play in town. As you can see, Route 28 has had more residents now. These people need to work, live, and play in town, and we have to create a work environment for them. Merchants are going to sell what they're going to sell, whether we like it or not. We can't change everything. I don't like sneakers, but I can still buy some in town. I understand the health benefit for physically being healthy, but for mentally being healthy, we need to create an environment where people work, live, and play in town. I've been here all my life. When I started to grow up and pay attention and be part of the business world, our commercial tax rate was 17% in Yarmouth, and I'm sad to say it's 5% today. You can just look at the derogation on Route 28, and I think making a variance, as was suggested, was proper way to take action on this matter. We have a hardship case. If anybody goes before the Zoning Board of Appeals, they plead for the hardship and a variance is granted. I don't believe in this case that we're looking to lift anything, Mr. Chairman. I think we're looking for specific site ones, which helps the community. As you know, at the corner of Winslow Gray and South Sea, there's a very dramatic structure there that's been there for a long time, and it doesn't provide much work, live, or play environment for our residents, which happen to be populating on both sides of that corner. The property owner is been there for a long time. It's gone through generations, and the new owner has some great, if anybody's seen the renderings of what she was planning to do, The bank was willing to work with her, give her a loan in this pandemic time, right? Which is like crazy. But they're willing to invest in her. And one of her main anchors is a convenience store that's not going to be 100% convenient. And it's not going to work. We are very happy for all the work that the Board of Health has done. Our Director of Health is wonderful. Their staff, being with the chamber, we work with them many times. They're very professional. They do the due diligence, and they're concerned about Yarmouth residents, and we love them for it. We at the chamber are very concerned about the residents too, and we want them to live, work, and play in our town. It's very important that this happens for the future because we're getting more, like I said, residents on 28. And, you know, being a volunteer member of an organization of like the Chamber of Commerce, like you Board of Health members are volunteering, you're, you know, doing your community work and your dedication to the town. And we all know that we're going to grow and young people need to come in, and that's what happens. So I think, as it was stated before, Mr. Chairman, that on a case-by-case basis, a variance like your septic system variances you give, this may be one that falls into that criteria. We're all for what you folks are doing and keeping everybody healthy, but it's beyond physical health. It's also mental health. So with that, I wish you all a happy spring, and hope that our residents and our guests alike will stick to the guidelines that we're all suggesting and put this pandemic, you know, it's not going to go away. I'm afraid it's not going to go away, but we could really, you know, learn more about it. It's all about education. And if people understand and they're willing to learn, then we'll be able to beat it. So with that, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for coming forward. Director Murphy?
Did you go ahead?
Hi, I definitely wanted to thank the Board of Health for holding this meeting and for adding to what everyone else has also said. Thanking you for the work that you've done throughout the year, especially during this difficult and challenging time. And I want to thank Nick and also Robert for supporting what I've been trying to do for the last year and a half, which was to permit that area. When I acquired the property, I had absolutely no idea that I was going to be up against this. And we had actually permitted that corner as a grocery store. It was always intended to be that, as it probably has been for about 100 and I guess I think it's been there for about 100 years almost. And I cannot tell you, you know, how weary I am having gone through that entire year, and we were all excited and looking forward to seeing that entire corner change. But one after another disappointing turn of events caused us, you know, the delay that we're having now. And the major one was the anchor of this grocery store. And I want to add to what Nick was saying, that I do feel that the mental health is a huge aspect to life. I mean, there's the physical and the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. It's all part of the whole being. And I'm not a smoker myself, but I do see that people need to earn a living and people need to be able to put food on their plates. And that is a huge part of their lives. And I am just really praying that somehow someone will see the entirety of the situation. And I mean, it seems to me that there's really just two of us in the town that have been trying to get this license reinstated or back again. Excuse me, my throat's a little dry. It's about 12 midnight where I am right now. I'm in Jerusalem. I'm in Israel. So I should be in bed by now, but this is how I've been working for the last year. And it meant a lot to me to be able to develop this corner. So I just hope that this is something that you'll consider.
Okay, thank you. Some other people here tonight?
I think we have a couple, I know they're muted, but if you'd like to speak, I know a couple of you have called the office. But you just unmute yourself and would like to hear from you.
We welcome any comments, anyone.
While they're discussing which one wants to jump forward, we did have one letter in your packet, board, from a person in the community that Susan Britter, that wrote a letter to the board of supporting the Board of Health license to 35. I had talked to her. She thought that's what the license was now, not the original, what we started at. But they support no licenses, hazards of cigarettes, discarded lottery tickets, and litter around the grocery stores. And that's what she had stated. They stated that presentation was in front of the zoning board, and the presentation contained info about a market possibility, possibly a Brazilian market, leasing the space. No convenience store was mentioned at that time. Just a ethnic market. So that's the one letter that was submitted to the board.
Thank you, Bruce. Anyone? This is the chance to do that. Otherwise, we're going to close this hearing. Last chance. Anyone? Any opinion? Whatever. I'd like to hear.
We just want to see. Yeah, just now would be the time to just unmute yourself and talk. If anybody is having trouble unmuting, if they're on video, they can just raise their hand, or they can share themselves on video, and we can just see if you wish to say anything at the meeting. Is anybody having any difficulty getting in? Yeah, if not, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, I guess not.
we can do, Mr. Chairman, is we can unmute them all if they're having difficulty. Can you try that, Meredith, where you just on the side there?
Yeah, go for it. People may not be that familiar with muting and unmuting, so.
Yeah, so let's just take a look. Yeah, there you go. So can you just go down that side and just,
We're not muted, Bruce.
pardon?
We're not muted by the system. Every one of
Okay.
us can talk.
Okay, so people are available if they wish to. Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think we've given them several chances. If they had any questions that they would like to mention.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so close the hearing. And we'll have some discussion and decide to vote here tonight. Just to give a really brief summary. Should be a focus on these two properties. The issue is really I guess, is the regulation for the cap. In other words, the way it's written right now, we would not be able to grant, which essentially are new licenses or licenses to individuals who own properties where licenses had been. So if we wanted to do that, then it would be granting new licenses. And in order to do that, we would have to rewrite the regulation or just remove it. And that's really what it comes down to now. The regulation not written about variances or anything like that at all. So it would have to be, you know, if you were thinking about rewriting it, we could do that. Address the issue of someone who owns a property where there had been a license, or, I mean, it could be customized that way if the board felt that was indicated. You have to remember there are other people who would like to have licenses in town also. In that we need to consider that. There'd be plenty of people who may want that from a business plan, you know, in order for income and to have a license to sell tobacco. So there are plenty of people who'd like to do that. So I think we should be able to vote on it. I think there are some health issues that we're all familiar with. Most of it is centered really on economics here in town. And I think each board member has to decide what their focus should be on. And as a board, what our mission is. So let's just open up the door here. Anybody wanted to make some comments or how we should proceed?
You want to sit here and talk? Say a couple words.
I'll go, Mr. Chairman. So I think, I mean, what I would like to do, and I would be curious to hear what other people, is I would like to have an avenue such as a variance that would give us an opportunity and it, obviously we'd have to vote on it anyway. So, but it would give I think Tom had said something about a hardship, or I forget what, I don't know what the verbiage would be, what it would look like. But we would have an opportunity to listen to a specific case and be able to decide whether we wanted to give them a permit based on the circumstance or not. And I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what the verbiage would look like, but that's what I would like to see.
How would you suggest we go about that?
I'm not sure, to be quite frank. I mean, I don't know if it could be like we would do a variance with a septic system, or that we could grant, like I said, it would have to be on an individual case, case by case. I also think that just based on our original tobacco cap, we shouldn't go beyond the original that we had come up with at the time of the first public hearing, which I think, whatever that was, I think it was 35. So I think we should never go beyond that, but have some wiggle room to, if there is a hardship, to be able to grant a variance or something. Again, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how it should be written. Perhaps town council can give us a suggestion, but that's what I would like to see.
I think there should be an option on an individual basis. For when something like this happens, there ought to be a way that this person can stay and can do business. It isn't cut and dry. I don't care what it is, whether it's alcohol, tobacco, or anything else. You gotta deal with people one-on-one. You can't stamp and make everything impossible. You know, there's cut and dry rules. It just doesn't function. We got a person that's put a year into something, trying to do something and start a business in this town, and we're standing in the way.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't think you need to overcomplicate, because I've been doing these type of motions for a super long time. What you need to do is something along the lines of just investigate and ask administration and town council to counsel you on what the next step should be. I mean, that's all. Just opening the idea up is amazing and great, and we really appreciate that. You could help the town. So I think the next step for you would be administration and town council on what best way to manage your cap.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with a comment who's on board member? Eric, do you have any comments, anything?
I don't see how we can lift the cap for these two individual businesses and not expect to see more of a turnout in the future for the same. I feel that most people who have lost a license or had a license lapse would consider their circumstances to be extenuating or hardships. So I think it's nearly impossible to grant a variance here for these two businesses and not expect to see more of the same type of event occurring in the future. That's my concern with lifting the cap. I don't want to stand in the way of any businesses, but we're the Board of Health, not the Chamber of Commerce or the Finance Committee. So,
Right.
Anytime you create a situation that's not flexible and it interferes with any business, you're going to run into a problem.
And I also would like to say that that if these two businesses were to be granted licenses, they would have to follow the rules and regulations they would have to follow the tobacco rules and regulations. So it's not like that they'd be given a blanket, pass to do whatever they want and sell whatever they want. They'd still have to follow the regulations. They'd still be fined if they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I just think that to a lot of people's point, that these individuals weren't really given the opportunity to buy the permits, renew the permits. In the case of the woman that spoke earlier, she didn't even know about it. So I mean, there has to be something, there has to be something so that a business, we just are torpedoing small business in that aspect or whatever. I'm not sure how to even word that, but I don't want to hurt a viable business because of our regulation. And that's not to say I expect them to follow the rules and regulations, but I also think that last year was an unusual year. And I think we lost a lot of businesses and a lot of people. And I just think that there should be, and even if there was an avenue, if other people wanted to come in front of the board after these two individuals, they would be able to. So we're not saying it's just these two. I'd like to add something that if there were other people that wanted to come in front of the board for whatever, there may be hardships we don't even know about. But I think there needs to be some sort of avenue. So I think I've said my piece.
Am I still muted? No?
You're alive.
No?
No, you can talk.
Oh, okay. That's no longer can we make rules that are cut and dry. There's got to be a flexibility, no matter what it is. And if gets granted the license, they still have to play by the rules. It isn't like we're giving them a blanket policy to do whatever. And if you do something stupid in the state of Massachusetts and you lose your driver's license, you can go in for a hearing at a certain time and get it back. Who makes us different?
Can I say something?
No, I think we're gonna keep it as is, as the open hearing is over. I think we need to move on. Thank you, though. All right, appreciate you coming in earlier and speaking. Yeah, things would have to be very customized. Obviously, someone who had a license 6 years ago could come forward also, and they would have the same right to do that. And so it would have to be some flexibility in how a new regulation would be written. So someone wants to make a motion of removing the cap, customizing it, or leaving it as is. They're welcome to go ahead and make a motion.
You want to make a motion, Charlie, here to? Just 1 second, Mr. Chairman.
Put that on hold for a second.
Go ahead. Just say you'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to modify the tobacco licensing in the town of Yarmouth. So there's an option for hearing, or so they can come before us and discuss certain problems that have, instead of just saying you can't do anything about it.
Okay.
Can
all
I
right.
just add to that we should consult town council and what the verbiage should look like?
So, okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second to that motion?
I mean, I second it, providing that we can have town council take a look at what the verbiage needs to look like.
Yeah, that would be standard. We would draft up a wording for either a variance or a hardship review, and we would run that by town council. Then it would come back to the board for discussion.
Okay.
Charlie, you made the motion. Is you okay with that addendum that Deborah just made?
And town council, yes, he's saying yes.
Okay, fine.
Can we get a repeat on that? What exactly is the motion?
The motion was to rewrite the regulations to allow the board to consider a hardship with town council review of the wording.
Is the only rewrite that we would consider a hardship, or can we completely rewrite the regulation? That's what I'm unclear on.
We're just rewriting this section within the tobacco cap only.
Right. It's opening up to rewrite the permit cap and to see where that goes. And that's certainly something that, Charlie and Deborah can certainly contribute to it, or write it up or whatever. If this were to pass tonight.
Okay, and prior to instating any new regulation, there would be another vote by this board. Is that correct?
Yes, if there's a new regulation, obviously it would be more about lifting the cap or having some avenue that Deborah was mentioning to reissue licenses or give licenses to people who had properties that had licenses, I guess. So it would have to be written along those lines, I guess.
So a yes vote is being open to a change in the regulation, and a no vote is no change.
Correct.
To put it simply.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we would need to write it, and then we would need to re-vote on it.
Correct. You would.
So this isn't the vote, Eric, to actually change it. It's the vote to add to it or change it or modify it, and then
Right.
look at it again and re-vote on it.
Well, I think, obviously, Deborah and Charlie, are leaning that way and would be interested in doing that. So maybe it'd be helpful to submit something. If this vote passes tonight, that may be helpful.
Sure.
In rewriting tobacco product permit cap. So that may be helpful. So we're not there yet. We certainly need to vote whether we want to lift the cap and work on it or not.
Right, so I think the board would rewrite it for discussion after town council review, and then the board could either further amend what they come up with, or just decide they want to go forward with that. So as I understand, this motion is just to go forward to look at rewriting to allow the cap to allow a hardship variance.
Right, so it's rewriting the, I guess, the permit cap is really what it is, that regulation. So we'll see what comes
Just
up.
writing, yeah, just writing the section within the cap, correct.
Right. So Deborah, with the legal counsel, you said you would second the motion, is that correct?
Right, and just in terms of, so we have the proper verbiage.
Right, so, okay, any other discussion? Okay, see that there's none. So if someone right now, they're in favor of rewriting the regulation, just raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Charlie, okay, Charlie, Eric,
Three, and I'm again, so we know, so it's a 3-to-1 vote. That to rewrite the permit cap, and then it would go in front of the Board of Health again for a vote. Certainly legal counsel at the end of it could take a look at it, but it's really the responsibility would be the board members. And I would ask that the people tonight who voted for it, and it's Deborah, Eric, and Charlie, to put something together, and maybe submit that to Bruce, and we can look at it. Okay, complicated, and it needs to be, looked at again by the board. So I would encourage you to do that. Any comments? Anything?
Sounds good to me.
okay, very good.
Okay. Bruce, are you interested in doing the update
Yep.
coronavirus? And we have.
Yep, we can go right into the coronavirus.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for all staying in, and if you want to stay, that's fine. If not, you're welcome to stay. If not, you can go home and watch it, or whatever you wish. I will move into the
Thank you.
coronavirus update. As you can see, their first page right here, you can see we're in a second, third wave. The first wave when the coronavirus came in March through the summer. Then we had the big second wave, November to January. And then you get the pointer that you can just kind of, and then it goes, you can see it going up, then it came back down in January on the backside. And now you can see it going back up as a another third wave surge. Very clear on the chart for the dates updated yesterday that we almost have 100 new active cases. So it does appear that we're back into a surge. Okay, next slide. Where that sits based on today, from the beginning, we've had an overall of 1,279 cases. Currently, we're following 103 active cases and with 31 deaths. Okay. Overall, positively, it is community spread from the beginning that we can see in the West Yarmouth, South Yarmouth, and Yarmouthport, but it also follows our population. So based on this, we're still going with a community spread. Thank you. The breakdown by age, something that obviously we follow every week, and we've been following it Fridays and Tuesdays, and then Fridays and Mondays on the Board of Health. That again, you can see that the highest age group right now is the 50 to 59 age, but then it's followed quickly by the group of 20 through 39. So, it can community spread through various ages, and then you can also see the ages that are school age 11 through 19 that we're having continuing cases. Almost 20 cases within that 11 to 19 over the last 2 weeks. Okay. We just kind of broke down just randomly. We looked at a couple days just to kind of get an idea of where, when I keep saying community spread, where is it out in the community? And just by looking at this, that, you know, we can see it in, it's in the Salesforce. It's in, we had a couple students here in college that had it, that were taking classes at home. It's just, you know, landscapers, builders, students, restaurant workers, car salesmen. So you can just see it's spread across the community in different business groups. Okay. Positive cases, this is within our school over since just the beginning of March. So beginning of March, we've had 166 townwide cases that we saw in the chart, so the surge. And during that time, there's been 119 students affected, and that's between positive and students that are being close contacts that are in quarantine. And that would be same for the teachers. Either we've had several teachers positive or they were close contacts to their students. And based on that, there has been 9 classrooms closed. And 1 sports club team has been affected. And we had closed 3 small daycares affecting 14 students. Where we sit on our number of cases that come out every Friday, we went back into from the yellow to the red, higher positivity. From yellow, we're up to, at the bottom, 5.88, which is much higher, based on 95 positive tests over the last 2 weeks, and the number of total tests has decreased. But you'll also notice from the other towns, they might not have moved to red, but they have a change in percent positivity on the far right that they have still increased. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 towns, or 9 other towns have increased their positivity. So I would still see us from the cases that we have coming in since last Friday that we will still be in, my projections will still be in a red high-risk community, at least for at least another week, if not more. The news flash was that we heard last week of the first P1 variant identified within Massachusetts, within Barnstable County. This new P1 was in tested in a 30-year-old woman, 30-ish-old woman, and this new P1 variant spreads quicker than just the regular COVID. This was just a news article that came out in the newspaper on this story last week when it was first came out from the Department of Public Health. Hospitalizations, we have seen it as looking at today's stats. They have increased. We can see the number of beds within Cape Cod Hospital have increased. The number in ICUs about stayed the same. Number of beds looks like it's come down in Falmouth, but the overall between both hospitals has increased. So that's something that we're monitoring. An interesting scenario that we're seeing more of now is people that are getting COVID, that symptoms are staying with people for a longer period of time. Looks like they're thinking of 10% of the population that gets COVID are having symptoms that are affecting them for a longer period, and they're being called long haulers. And I know we discussed this at an earlier meeting, but it's becoming more important to monitor this. Okay. No new deaths since our last meeting. We're still at 31. Had nothing new in February, with the age range between 63 and 99, with the average age of 85. Most of these deaths have been in a nursing home, with several of them also being within the hospitals. I just put that in there, just reminding people to wear a mask. Just came out in the newspaper. I thought I'd just put that in. These two charts, Mr. Chairman, we did kind of look at them again, just for trying to break down to 31 deaths that we can see we had 12 in the 90 to 90 age, and then 80 would be the next group of 13, and then 3 each in the other categories. So just something Meredith was looking at the other day. She was doing a little of her own research, and was very interested, which then she broke it down by gender, between male and female, the deaths that make up the 31 cases.
Great, thank you. Sure, it's good.
Thank you. COVID precautions, again, I know we bring this up at each meeting, and I don't know how we can keep stressing it. That's why we're seeing a surge, the third surge, third wave in the community, a lot from gatherings. Dinner parties, sleepovers, family carpooling. From what we're seeing in the tracing right now, it's coming from various homes, so that would indicate gatherings. It's not coming from the schools that, because there's only, if it was coming from the schools, the classroom would have like 3 or 4 positive cases. And right now, we're only seeing 1 positive case within a classroom. So it is the community spread. And I think that's what the board needs to think about as we go, the board goes forward with what precautions do we need to take as we go into the third wave? Is that limited use at the pavilion? Looking at individual reopening plans? Is it something we need to look at in the future of the beaches that we heard from Amy? We might need to pause a few things as we've seen if this third wave is going to continue. So all we can say is, avoid the gatherings to stop the spread, mask up, social distance, keep washing the hands. That moves us into vaccine, which obviously that we need to keep a close eye on and request more. We now move into the new eligibility age that started today from the governor, that people 60 and over, along with certain work sectors are available. And then later in April, we'll go to 55. And then and pretty much all individuals later in April. But some of the other categories right now that are eligible for the vaccination is the restaurant and cafe workers, grocery and convenience store workers on the front lines, beggars, stalkers, maintenance staff, security, all important. Transportation, public transportation, bus drivers, taxis, limos, public works, working on water supplies, wastewater, DPW workers that are now public workers that are eligible, along with sanitation, public health workers. So there's quite a few, in going down to the court system, defense attorneys, clerks, prosecutors, funeral home directors, funeral workers. So quite a bit was opened up today, board members. Brings us to individuals with how they're being vaccinated within the county now. I think this is interesting. I think this might be the first time we've seen this one. Is if we look at, and if we can have the pointer, I wish I had the pointer, is over to the 75 plus age group, that down the bottom where it says that we've at least 1%, at least that have received 1% is 81%. which is a good number. But that also shows, 19% that hasn't, which is about almost 5,500 people that are still waiting for their first shot. But if you go over to the, 65 to 69 and 70, 74, the number of people that just got one shot are 51 or 57%. So we need to get the vaccine out to that group. I think it's harder for the people to get online to get vaccinated. So I think this is a good chat for us to watch, board members, to make sure we're getting the vaccine down on the Cape that we need to reach out to our senior population.
Bruce, I think there's one column that isn't here, which the state is not providing, and that is percentage of people who have finished the full sequence of inoculations. Who's been fully vaccinated?
Yeah, so we got,
I mean, in other words, the people who've received one shot are not fully protected.
right.
So it's, in other words, two of the vaccinations require 2 injections, and the Johnson one now is really just 1 injection, but they're not giving us any numbers on who has completed vaccination.
Right. And I think what we have now is a lot of the second vaccinations are coming out this last week, this week, and next week when people are eligible. Yeah. So we go to our next chart that came out separately, kind of answers your question there, Mr. Chairman, a little bit more. If we go to that age group, we across the top, population of town, and we have individuals with at least 1 dose, and then it was broken out to fully vaccinated individuals. So as we go down, we can see in that age group of 75 and plus that what they're saying is we have over 2,100. So we're still looking at those figures. Trying to check them with the Council on Aging. That's why we're going forward with the contacting the Homebound. But these 2 charts we're looking at very closely weekly, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, so 40% of those 75 and above have not been fully vaccinated. So
Right.
they're going to be competing with younger people to get appointments.
Correct.
That's going to be difficult.
Okay. So our vaccination plan is still working with the large state vaccination at the community college. Right now, they're doing mainly second vaccinations. Cape Cod Healthcare is also over there doing second vaccinations and some first vaccinations. The number of doses has increased somewhat, not a lot, over the 975 to just over, I think, 1,100. And as we get more vaccine, it will be also more available at local regional sites, they hope, down the road, and in the pharmacies. Our vaccination plan in town is obviously dependent on the vaccine that we receive. Right now, DPH is not providing any vaccine to local health departments. So we're in communications and working with Harbor Community Healthcare out of Hyannis, where we've had 2 dates and have vaccinated 60 people right there for their first shots. We are currently working with Outer Cape Community Health on our homebound plan that I'll talk a little bit more. VNA, when they receive their vaccine, we'll work with them. And the Last Mile is a separate group that also will provide vaccine for the homebound and people in general. Our vaccination team, as I mentioned, that we're working closely with is Harbor Health, Outer Cape Community Health, the County Health Department, and the VA. The town team, besides the Health Department, is the Council on Aging that's working daily, taking phone calls in, 70, 80, 90 calls a day. They're reaching out to people. They've sent out 4,000 names over to Cape Cod Healthcare from a list that they've been maintaining. They have reached out to homebound people also. We'll also be working very closely with the police department and fire department. We'll have paramedics available to go out with vaccination teams for the homebound. Our Homebound Contacts, as I mentioned, is the Council on Aging, also received them from Meals on Wheels people that we contacted. I reached out to the local churches, and we're sitting right now at about 125 homebound. And that group has been contacted once or twice and last week from the Council on Aging, just to let them know that we did get their applications. They're still on our list, and we're looking at sometime around the first week of April getting out to this group. So we have stayed in touch with them to try to keep them as calm as they can be and not get frustrated as they see other people getting vaccine. Council on Aging number for, people at home that want to call them to make sure they're on either list, the homebound list or just the general list that the Council on Aging is sending over on a regular basis or to Cape Cod Hospital. Okay. County Vaccination Helpline number, I put that up. And we'll get these up on our website also, Mr. Board Chairman. So that line's available to help. The new registration line, still people forever seems to be waiting to get on there. It just takes a while. So that's the number to keep going. They're saying they're going to come out with a newer and improved one, and we'll see how that is over the next week. And the last sheet we have is we did do a pop-up clinic in Hyannis at the Melody Tent Sunday for this increase in the third wave that we worked with Town of Barnstable because of the surge. And this was, I had talked to Cape Cod Times, and this was Channel 7 that heard about it and wanted to come down and see what was precautions that the towns were taking. And this is one step from Sunday. We do not have the results back yet. I don't know how many cars went through from 12 to 6. I have asked the state if they would be sending us what the breakdown is between both towns that went through as positive and what percent and what the numbers of the P1 variant that they were testing for.
Bruce, was this pop-up, was this like for people that we contact traced?
Yes, this is
Okay.
this would go to our contact tracing. It was done by the DPH arranged it on Friday, and I had asked for it Thursday when we knew we were moving into the red community. Had worked with DPH along with Barnstable to get a testing site down here as soon as we could, and that worked through on Friday, and then Saturday they were reaching out to within the community, the contact tracers. The my point here with the Channel 7 is this is good for the pop-up testing, but we're probably going to know that we're going to get increased positive cases. Really, the next step is we need vaccine for a pop-up emergency clinic. It's not that these people can be shifted over to the community college, because one is they're probably going to have difficulty getting on the site, and we need to get a mass number over there. So we need additional vaccine that we can distribute through Barnstable Council on Aging or the Yarmouth Council on Aging. So that finishes my full presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, that's a lot. Thank you. Board members, anyone? Questions for the director? Okay, not, we can work our way down. We're down to number 9. It's a discussion wastewater committee. Charlie, do you have any update on the committee?
We do have an appointment for the wastewater. I know Charlie was previous or on the wastewater committee. I don't know how many meetings you've been.
Maybe Charlie, can you come up to the mic then?
Oh, you want to just.
The wastewater meetings that I went to, the doors were closed. You know, they had a meeting on White's Path at 266, which used to be the Christmas tree shop, and I couldn't get in there, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, when was the last meeting?
I couldn't even tell you. I haven't heard anything from them since probably 7 or 8 months ago.
Okay, that's news. I believe they are meeting.
They haven't notified me of meetings in 7 or 8 months. I'm telling you. You know, the ones that they did notify me to, I went to, and there was nobody there. The door was locked.
And, okay, I didn't hear about it. I don't know. Did you contact Bruce? I mean, something's wrong.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, we're talking about the wastewater committee. Obviously, it's important to all of us. Have there been Zoom meetings at all? Did they bring a packet or anything?
I haven't heard a word from them in months. They haven't said a word to me.
You've been getting any information from them?
I beg your pardon?
Have you been getting any information from the committee? You know, like we get
No.
packets before our meetings.
No, absolutely nothing.
Well, I can look into it with Bruce or whatever. Something's not right. Obviously,
I can tell.
I mean, are you interested in participating?
Yeah, if they ever open the door up.
Okay.
We can look into that, Mr. Chairman, both of us, and I guess the question is if Charlie would like to continue or a, representative.
Well, certainly, I think we need a representative there. We're talking about the health of the community. We're talking about the wastewater committee. So if Charlie's still willing to be on the committee, then that's fine. But we need to find out, are there meetings or not? I mean, I wasn't aware of it. Who's running the committee, Bruce? Yeah.
I think the committee right now is several people. I know DPW, Jeff Colby on it. I'm not sure. I know they have a representative from the planning board. Kurt Sears is the chairman. So I'm not sure the whole committee makeup right now, Mr. Chairman.
What would you suggest then, Bruce?
Pardon, Mr. Chairman?
Any suggestions what to do here? I mean,
Well, we can look into the next meeting and when it's going to be, and I guess we can let Charlie know if he wishes to continue, or we can just bring it to the next meeting once we get further information.
okay, so just let us know when the next meeting is, okay? And
Yeah, we'll look at that.
okay, I appreciate that because we need someone there. Okay. One more item here. Number 10 is discussion of the WISE Act. That's the Yarmouth Substance Awareness Committee. I had been on that I went for several years on it. This past year, I was not the person on it. What's the status of it?
Well, when we hit COVID, we pretty much took a break last year. And now it's back again. We're working on a grant through the county health department that Meredith, I think, reported on at our last meeting.
Right.
And since then, we have two new co-chairmans, one from the Duffy House, one from Anna from the police station. And we're working on the grant. We probably have about 6 members. And the committee's going to meet the third Wednesday of each month between 5 and 6. Myself is attending along with Meredith. And like I said, there's probably about 6 other committee members, but it would probably be nice to have a board member. I would see us meeting probably once a month. The high school project finishes up in June, end of May, June.
I said, yeah, the committee was very productive. I mean, I put a number of years in on it, representing the board. So obviously substance abuse is a big issue here for our board. So someone willing to represent the Board of Health there. Looks like the commitment is once a month. It's probably, as I recall, it's been an hour and a half meeting.
Yeah, we've been pretty much sticking right to the hour, maybe going over hour 15, but that's it.
Yeah. It was business-like the way it was run before.
Yes.
Is that, it's on Wednesdays?
Correct. Third Wednesday,
And what are the hours?
5 to 6. Zoom.
I can represent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Who will, I mean, how will I receive information on the?
We will get you a packet of information because Meredith was on the committee now and they appointed her secretary treasurer.
Well, congratulations there. All right,
She's smiling ear to ear behind her mask.
okay. Eric, you'll get a free t-shirt from somewhere, don't worry, okay?
Yes.
Okay, any new or old business? Okay, I don't have anything. We just need to probably look ahead and pick a date for next meeting, and perhaps at that we can, someone could talk a little bit about the cap a little bit, if they've written something in or some text, you know, that can be looked at or proposed, that would be helpful. So that would be the only thing, is scheduling another meeting. That's about it.
Go to April. Very, very nice. The first meeting in April would be April 5th. I would probably recommend that, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good. Fine. Okay. I think we're done for the evening then, unless
Yes.
anyone else? I don't see any hands up there. Fine. So let's make a motion and we can finish up here.
I move we adjourn.
Second, thank you, Eric. Thank you. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Charlie, you want to leave? Fine.
Nope, he's all for it.
He's all for
All
it.
for an aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.